American football really is a fascinating sport. There are all sorts of things happening all at the same time. And as a result, it can really be a difficult game to simulate, and it's also not all that easy to analyze. Now, when you're playing with any kind of sports simulation, it's really important to figure out how to make those connections up here in your head. You want to be able to see what is happening. It really helps a lot with immersion. And there's a reason why some of us prefer to play with the cards and dice on the tabletop, because we can see it a lot better with our eyes. If you play the game in Madden, sure, you can see what's on the screen, but the game's going to dictate what it is that you see in your mind. For a lot of us, it's more fun to sort of play with the cards and have the whole thing up here. Well, as you probably know, my current focus is on 4th Street Football, which I really think is one of the finest games on the market. Among other things, 4th Street Football gives you a pretty large collection of different plays that you can call yourself. Anyway, I thought that I would do a deep dive into the plays that come with 4th Street Football. I've got the 1985 season, and I've also got a collection of football videos from 1985, so I thought it would be fun to compare some of the plays in the video with some of the plays that come up in the game, some of these plays on the player cards. I especially want to see how the game's concepts hold up and just exactly how realistic they are. So for today, I just want to look at running plays. We're not going to worry about defense. We're not going to worry about passing plays. We'll get to all of that later. We'll just take a look at a few running plays today, at the cards that correspond with them, and see how they work. Well, in order to do this, we're going to use the September 8th, 1985 Green Bay Packers at New England Patriots game. So the reason why we're using this particular game is because of my own mistake. You see, I haven't ordered the extra play cards yet. This is an issue because the game does not include the I formation. Some of these other extra formations don't come up all that often, for example, the T formation, and they also didn't do very much with the Wildcat back in 1985. However, the I formation was actually used pretty frequently, as you can see in this example. So the rule of thumb appears to dictate that most teams around this era just used the pro set down after down. Now that might be true of the 1970s, though I haven't really done much of a deep dive yet to find out. However, by 1985, you do see quite a bit more offensive variety, to the point where I was having a hard time finding teams that were not running like the I formation. Okay, the very first play from scrimmage that the Packers had in this game was a pitch to Gary Ellis, who was the single back, and he gets nowhere at all. Now, the proper formation in 4th Street Football seems to be the ace, and yet this very first play we're looking at is not in the pro set formation. I'm pretty sure that this is the closest play, ace number 56, a halfback end run to the right. Anyway, as always, if I get something wrong, please let me know in the comments. Chances are very good that I will get something wrong and you can correct me. Also, just so you're aware, the video quality is not very good because this is from 1985. If you watch a lot of games from that era and then watch modern broadcasts, you'll be surprised and amazed at how much better the coverage is today. It's a lot easier today to sort of see the blocking matchups and see what's really happening. Now, we can look at the play a little bit more slowly while we look at the card. As you can see here in the beginning, it looks like Ellis had pretty good blocking. He's got 2 men in front of him and a third laying on a nice block, giving him a pretty good sized hole. Ellis, however, decided to go to the outside of that block instead of the inside, and the defense easily caught up with him. Now, looking at the card, I would say that this would be either a roll of 10 to 13 or of 19 to 20. And looking at that play again, I would say that the player key to that matchup was probably number 33, who was Jesse Clark. Okay, I'll be honest, I'm kind of confused by that formation. Jesse Clark was a running back, not a tight end. However, he was clearly lined up in the tight end position. I know I've watched this like 5 times. So if we look at it once again slowly, we slow this down a little bit, you can see clearly that it was indeed Jesse Clark trying to make the block. He winds up down on the ground and the play is broken up. Now, the tackle was made by Andre Tippett, number 56 for New England, who I'm going to assume was playing in that defensive end position. So, going back to the play card, you assume that Clark was in that tight end role and that Tippett was lined up on that side. We would then compare Tippett's A column to Clark's X column. Clark has a 7 and Tippett has a 3. 7 minus 3 is 4, which means that the offense has a 40% chance of winning the matchup. Tippett clearly won the matchup in what we just saw, and the loss was for about 1 to 2 yards, which would probably be this 83 or 84 result on his card. So as you can see here in the rulebook, an 83 is a 1-yard loss and an 84 is a 2-yard loss. So as you can see from that example, the play cards are actually quite realistic, and the cool thing is that you get a very good example of what happens on every play. So let's go take a look at another example. Now this second play is interesting because it starts out of the pro set formation, after which Ellis goes into motion. This time it is Jesse Clark getting the run after his unsuccessful block, and he goes nowhere. I'm not sure that there's an option in 4th Street Football to send a man in motion. I haven't found anything in the instruction manual, I haven't found anything on Delphi forums, so let me know down below in the comments if you kind of know an answer to that question. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that this call was the pro set number 6 play, which would be a halfback draw. It might be a dive play instead, I'm really not sure. Now if you watch this play closely, you can see that number 90 of New England plugs the hole. This is Toby Williams, who only played 5 games in 1985 and who I believe is part of the supplemental card set. Yeah, apologies, I kind of don't have his card. You see, I still need to buy the extra players, but we can still check out the play and see what likely happened. Well, that's going to be this box on the halfback draw option. We have to assume that Williams simply won the battle after a roll from 1 to 3 and that his card had a no gain option. If you watch that play again slowly with the card, you can see how the play developed and the hole that was plugged up as quickly as it opened. Well, doing all of this really gives me an appreciation for the work that the offensive line winds up doing. If you can't get one of those holes open, there really is no running game. Anyway, let's take a look at just one more play really quickly. This time New England has the ball. This one is a similar play to the one that we just saw. This is a run right up the middle by the halfback. He has a massive hole and winds up making a pretty large gain. Now I'm pretty sure that this play is pro set number 8, which would be the halfback dive play. The fact that the play developed so quickly tells me that this is probably a dive play instead of a draw play. I could be wrong, let me know. Now fortunately, NBC gave us a replay from a higher angle. It's not the full 22, but it's good enough to get the job done. You can see this play develop clearly from this angle. And if we compare it to the card, you can see that the runner, Tony Collins, decided to go on the right side of the guard blocking in front of him into that huge hole. Now, if you watch this again closely, what you'll notice is that the middle linebacker for Green Bay, number 52, overruns the ball after being faked out by Collins. He was probably watching his head. Number 52 is George Cumby. Going back to the play card, my guess is that the roll wound up being an 18, where we would compare the A ratings between Cumby and Collins. So Collins has a 7 in his A column and Cumby has a 2. I guess that's what you get when you're faked out a lot. 7 minus 2 is 5, which gives Collins a 50% chance per the 4th Street engine. Well, the gain was for 12 yards, which means that he hit one of those 11s on his card, plus the roll with the 10-sided die would have been a 2. So if we look at the results code table in the appendix, an 11 means a 10-yard gain plus whatever the result is of a roll with the 10-sided die. In this case, it would be 2 because he gained 12 yards. Anyway, I'm going to keep it at that for the time being. Next time we'll look at some passing plays. And as you can see, I still need to make a couple of purchases to get everything complete. Now I do know from others, especially on Delphi forums, that the 4th Street Football computer game is more complete, has more options, and I think has more plays as well. However, I really want to examine the board game first, in large part because I prefer to play with the tabletop, with the cards and with the dice, instead of having this screen in front of me like I do right now. And so because of that, we're going to stick with the board game for the time being. Let me know what you think down below, and especially please let me know if I missed something important.